Hi, everyone. We are going to get started in just a minute.
Hello.
Hi, Kathy.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Kathy, Matt, and George, all of your lines should be unmuted.
Yeah, I think, can you hear me, Kendall?
Yep, sure can.
Okay.
Yep, I'm good as well. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. It's 7, so why don't we get started? I don't want to take up too much of everyone's evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for the 2018 Alpine pre-competition webinar. My name is Kendall Zeslitz. I am the Special Olympics staff lead for Alpine, as well as the regional sports director for Eastern Maryland. Also on the call tonight, I have Steve Bennett, Matt Otwell, Kathy Caldery, Mike Darnowski, and George Hergenhan. So with that, let's get started.
Thanks, Kendall. Good evening, everyone. This is Matt Otwell. Thanks for joining us this evening. We're going to go through the slides pretty quickly. So if you don't mind, please hold all your questions to the end. We have a lot of new information to go over. But we're going to try and be as clear and concise as we can, go through it and give plenty of time for questions and feedback at the end. So as you can see the agenda here, again, welcome everyone. This is Matt Otwell. For those of you who don't know me or haven't met me at the recent race trainings or coaches on snow training, I am the Alpine venue director from a volunteer perspective for the games management team. Run you through everything we got going on this year. It's very exciting. We have a lot of changes. We will touch on the conditions, the schedule, the layouts at Whitetail. Also, we'll talk about the coaches meeting very briefly and other items such as the ski storage and other aspects of the events going on, including opening ceremonies, the dance, go over some basic rules that we want to focus on, and then talk about some other aspects of the game. So let's move forward, please. Thanks, Kendall. So we'll be going through a variety of information. Again, we're going to try and share as much and all the information that we have up to date. We want to provide as much input. We want to provide as much information as we can to you, the coaches, so we can get as much input and feedback as we can. Again, I feel the past couple of years we've had quite a bit of great communication going on. Lots of good information coming back, and we're trying to build on it and evolve the games as we go from year to year. And also, we are welcoming Special Olympics Delaware and Special Olympics Virginia, some of their athletes, to this year's Winter Games. Kendall, do you want to talk to the registration real quick?
Sure. So our time trials are going to be held on Sunday this year, which is a little different, but I think it's going to run pretty smoothly. We have all of the athletes and partners registered in the time trial events that match their competitive event for Winter Games. So whatever you put them into GMS, that's going to determine if they are in the novice time trials or the intermediate and advanced. Coaches are going to have the opportunity to adjust the event following time trials based on how your athlete does in their time trial event. So if you have an athlete who's doing time trials in an intermediate event and you just think it's not proper for their skill level and you want to drop them down to novice, that is totally okay, and we can take care of that. However, they need to compete in the time trial for the changed event. So we can have them compete in the novice time trial just to make sure we have a qualifying score for them. Changes to your athlete's event need to be submitted to the control center on Sunday, no later than 3:30. The control center is going to be in the same area as it was last year inside of the lodge, but please make sure we have that by 3:30.
Great, thanks, Kendall. So we're going to go over the schedule for the time trials real quick for this coming Sunday. It's very similar to the way we've done time trials the past couple of years. We're going to go by delegation, and we do have specific times for the delegation to arrive at the race course. Now, keep in mind, this is arriving at the race course at this time so we can keep things flowing smoothly. One other thing I want to reiterate is that for the time trials, athletes are only required to have one good run. We will have the course officials at each course, both novice and the intermediate advanced, will be holding up flags. A white flag for a good run, red flag for a bad run. It is up to the athlete and the coach if the athlete has a good run on the first one, on whether they want to take that second run again. They are calling for rain on Sunday now, given it's 7 days out, but we'll keep an eye on the weather. We're going to talk to that in a couple more slides. But just to go through some of the changes we've made to the schedule for this year is we're going to try and do time trials a little bit later. We typically try and start them a little earlier, but in order to keep things flowing very smoothly throughout the day and to get us to dinner and then opening ceremonies, we want to make sure we have plenty of time to get everyone through in a very timely and efficient manner. So what we've done is we're going to have the closest counties go first during the day. Frederick, Carroll, Allegheny, Howard will be the first ones to go in the morning, as they have the shortest trip to get up the Whitetail. Then followed by Anne Arundel, Baltimore City, Garrett, and this is for the intermediate and advanced time trials. Followed by Montgomery. Then we're going to take a lunch break after that. After lunch, we'll come out with Hartford, Charles, Cecil, then St. Mary's, and we'll end up with Virginia and Delaware. Again, we're trying to build some time into the schedule because things could get backed up. If everything runs smoothly, we're hoping to be done by 3:30 at the latest. But if things do go further on, depending on how the schedule goes with rain and everything else, we do have until about 4 o'clock to go. Dinner does not start until a little bit later, and I'll touch on that in a future slide as well. For novice, we're going to have Frederick, Carroll, and Howard starting at 10 a.m., followed by Anne Arundel and Baltimore City, then Montgomery, Lower Shore. Then we'll take lunch again, start back up at 1:30 with Hartford and St. Mary's, and then Special Olympics, Delaware. For novice, one caveat is that if your delegation is at Whitetail and you have athletes going in the morning and you want them to run novice, please work with us and we can have you go out the novice and run in the morning. We would really like to get everyone to go through the course by noon, so that way we have it open for anyone in the intermediate time trials that need to drop down and do a time trial in novice. We are going to keep the novice course open until intermediate competition is complete. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please, Kendall. So this is we talked about the tentative schedule for Sunday. This is just the overall schedule, with dinner starting at about 4:30 p.m. going until 5:45. Then opening ceremony starting at 6:30 and ending at 7:30. HOD meeting will be sometime after that. That will be determined. I'm not sure when that will be determined. Steve, George, do you guys have a time when we
Matt,
can let the coaches know?
Yeah, this is Steve. We're looking at approximately 10 o'clock on Sunday evening back at the Ramada Plaza in the executive boardroom meeting area. And the one other thing on this is the delegation registration. Again, when the HODs arrive, they can come into the control center and pick up the packets for each delegation. But again, that's each day. We want to limit that to the heads of delegation so that not all the coaches and assistant coaches and everything, they come into the control center. So each head of delegation will pick up the packets for each program each morning.
Great, thank you very much, Steve.
And then I can just continue along this, and when we get to the specifics with Alpine, you can hit on that as well, Matt. So I'll turn it back over to you. So again, this is just the basic general overview schedule. The breakfast will be at the hotels on Monday morning. Again, each morning, the head of delegation will check in at the control center. On Sunday, the control center will be in the lodge on the second floor, similar to where it was at the training sessions. And then on later on Sunday afternoon, around 3:30, that location will move over to the KMC dining room, which is where the control center has been in years past. So again, we've got the time trials and the finals going on Monday. The important thing there is if you have individuals who are in the glide and super glide currently, or if you find your athletes who are registered in the novice on Sunday need to go down to the glide and super glide, make sure you turn that information in earlier, as Kendall mentioned, but the time trials for the glide and super glide will be at that time frame in the morning session on Monday. We'll have lunch, and again, we'll go straight on into the rest of the schedule here. I'm not going to spend too much time, as the slides will be mailed out to everyone in the next day or two, no later than. So you'll see the schedule here. The one thing is dinner on Sunday will be at Whitetail right before the opening ceremony. Dinner on Monday night will be back at the Ramada Plaza as it was last year, and then moving into the athlete social and the dance. Those of you who are not aware or haven't got a chance to review the event guide completely, the social athlete dance, the theme of the dance is the Monster Mash. And then we will also have a family reception that evening for family members only, and that's right across the parking area at the Homewood Suites property. Then on Tuesday, same basic thing, get up, have your breakfast at the hotels. The heads of delegation will check in at the control center for any updates, and then we go into the competition schedule. It does not look like at this time we were going to have the snowboarding demo, but again, we hope to do that in the years to come. So again, this is when the finals will continue for Alpine and snowshoeing.
This is just kind of an overview of how the Alpine competition is going to run. I will email out a PDF of this as well, so it's a little bit easier to see than in this PowerPoint, but it is just blocked off in 15-minute increments, so it can really help you plan out your day and where exactly your coaches and your delegation volunteers are going to be needed.
Yeah, one thing, Kendall, if we can go back to that slide real quick.
Sure.
That'd be great. So one thing I just want to point out is that given that we're doing the time trials and opening ceremonies on Sunday night now, this opens up our schedule a little bit more on Mondays. Typically in the past, we've had some challenges as far as some overlap between intermediate and advanced courses, especially with Super G and trying to run getting athletes from one course to the next. What we've done is you'll notice kind of a flip. In the morning, we're going to be running intermediate Super G and an intermediate unified. Then intermediate athletes will not have another race that day until the afternoon, until 2 p.m. for intermediate giant slalom. We want to make sure that we had plenty of time for athletes to get from each course to the other. So we should have no issues. Again, for advanced giant slalom, we'll be running in the morning as intermediate Super G is running. Then that's going to flip. Advanced Super G will go in the afternoon. So that should give us plenty of time to clear out Super G course and have athletes get to everywhere they need to go on Monday. Thank you very much, Kendall. I just wanted to point that out real quick.
Sure, thank you.
And then
Okay.
As Matt and Kendall both mentioned, we are working with Whitetail Resort on the conditions. What I will say right now is, in speaking with them today, they are extremely confident that everything will go on as planned. Again, knowing that there's some challenges with warm weather coming our way and some potential rain. But again, we are monitoring that each day and talking with Whitetail. If anything changes, you'll be the first to know. So, as you see, if we do run into any situations like we had last year and have to scramble, we'll work with Whitetail, Matt, and the rest of the Alpine crew, etc., to determine which slopes will be available for the events, for the games. And this next slide is just a basic overview of Whitetail. Not much has changed from last year, but a couple of things I do want to point out is the control center for Sunday, like we said, will be at the same place it was at the training sessions. So on Sunday, when the heads of delegation come to check in, it'll be in the top of the main new lodge, in the drop-down areas near the fireplace. And then the Alpine staging tent, same place as it last year. It'll be behind kind of where it says the Kids Mountain Camp. There'll be a tent on the sidewalk area next to the rental equipment area. The opening ceremonies will be back behind the stage. If you look at the map and you're walking straight up the steps coming into the lodge, they'll be on the back patio, looking up towards the mountain. The dinner on Sunday evening is there with the dining area. So again, it'll be in the cafeteria from Whitetail. When we move to Monday and later in the afternoon on Sunday, the control center will move from that top second level over to the far left on your slide where you see in the yellow control center and delegation check-in. And again, the control center is designated for the heads of delegation. So you can work with your heads of delegation if you need any information disseminated to us or from us. You can have your designee come to that control center area and we'd be happy to help you out. The family hospitality will be on Monday and Tuesday for Alpine. Again, it'll be in the solstice room. There will be some signage directing you to that location. It's a great area. There will be some refreshments there for families, some information, and a great view of the slopes there on the big glass window front looking at the mountains. One other thing I'll just mention is please be mindful of the parking areas. Follow the parking directions and follow any restricted areas. We did really well last year and we're going to continue that. A year or two ago, we had some issues with people parking in restricted areas, but that was mainly over in the snowshoeing area. The ski storage area for Sunday and Monday night will be, if you look kind of to your left center of the slide, the outside in containers. Each container will have your delegation on that, and that's where you can leave your skis for your Alpine athletes overnight. We'll put them inside, get them locked up, and have them out for you the next morning.
Steve and Matt, it's George. Can we back up 1 second? We've mentioned that the control center is going to be in one place on Sunday and another place on Monday and Tuesday. If you're making a change to your event, you actually have to do two things. You have to get the athlete to the new race course and get a time, but you will also have to turn in a form to let us know that at the control center. We're not sure exactly what time we're getting into the control center from Monday, Tuesday. So I'm going to say that come to the second floor of the lodge to turn in that form. And we'll leave somebody there if we get in early, but we may not get in till much later. So let's designate the second story of the lodge as the place to turn in the form.
Yeah, good point, George. Thank you.
Okay, as far as where the Alpine courses are going to be set up, we're really hoping to use the same courses we did 2 years ago. Again, last year we had some circumstances where we weren't able to run advanced on home run. I was up at Whitetail yesterday, and as of yesterday, again, we have some warm weather and some rain coming in, but there was great coverage as of yesterday. Last year at this time, there was a lot of dirt showing. So what we're hoping is, again, novice will be on Velvet, with Glide, Super Glide being outside the Children's Center. Intermediate, we're looking to have on Stalker. That's one that, as we get closer, we'll be working with Whitetail to determine if the snow coverage on Stalker will be good. If not, we'll move over to Snow Park as we've done in years past. Super G on Sidewinder looks great. Don't foresee any issues there. And again, home run looked pretty good yesterday, but we will work with Whitetail staff throughout the week and make the decisions as of next weekend. Thanks, Kendall. Next slide, please. Staging. As always, please report to the staging tent 15 minutes prior to the start of the division. Again, it all starts at the staging tent with keeping the flow of the games going. If athletes are late at the staging tent, they're going to be late to the course. It could back things up, and then that just snowballs after there. So please have the athlete wearing their bib and have all their equipment ready. Don't bring the skis in the staging tent. They can be on the slope side or somewhere close to the tent. And make sure that the staging volunteer is checked in with the athlete before they go. Don't just drop them off and leave, as that can cause some confusion as well. Next slide, please. Hey, George, would you like to touch on the new escort?
Yeah. Yeah, Matt.
Alpine?
So I think everybody's hopefully everybody's aware by now, but we're going to try a slightly different approach to staging and see if it works. So we're only trying this on the home run course, which is advanced giant slalom and advanced slalom. So all other events will follow the staging instructions that Matt just went over. But we're looking at a different way to use volunteers because sometimes it's difficult to recruit volunteers on a Monday and a Tuesday. So for these two races, the advanced giant slalom on Monday and the advanced slalom on Tuesday, we're going to try an escort procedure that's been used successfully at World Games. We're asking coaches to take responsibility to bring their athletes to the race course. We will publish a schedule as we always have, and we'll have your report time, but rather than report to the staging tent, you would report to the top of the race course. So as I said, we're only trying it for advanced giant slalom and advanced slalom. They're not the advanced super G. So it's just those two and no other course, no other race. So the staging will take place at the top of the course. There will be volunteers there in a staging area to greet you and to check you in. You'll bring your athletes to the top of that course and report to that location. We want to hear your feedback after we try this, so we'll include some questions in the follow-up survey. But we want to hear if this worked for you. So good, bad, or indifferent, please give us all the feedback that you can. I believe the next slide, Kendall, if you'll advance, goes through a specific heat. So again, on the schedule, the athletes will be grouped into heats, and each heat would follow all of these procedures. So you escort your athletes to the staging area. You check in with the staging volunteer. At the scheduled competition time, the volunteer releases those athletes or that heat to the race course for the first run. Remember, both these events are 2-run events. You then can go, once your athletes are in the staging area, you can go to the bottom of the race course and wait for the athletes after their first run. You can then escort your athletes back up to the staging area for the second run. And again, once the staging volunteer takes them, you can go to the end of the course and wait for them. After the second run, you escort your athletes to the awards area. Remove their skis and poles before you take them into the awards area, and then take them to the awards staging area. Don't leave the awards staging area until an awards volunteer acknowledges that they have the athletes and that they understand which heat they were in. But after that, go ahead and enjoy the awards presentation. And just a reminder about coaching athletes. So we've always had the no coaching rule, and it still applies in this case. So you can speak to the athletes and you can coach them and talk to them about their skills or their style or whatever they did right or wrong while you are escorting them. While you are escorting them to the staging area or while you're escorting them back up for their second run. But once the athletes are in the race course area, once they're ready to be in the course, all coaching is prohibited. So it's during the competition while they're on the course that all coaching is prohibited. While they're on the course, general cheering and encouragement, but no specific help. Any question, or I'm sorry, Matt did ask for questions to wait till the end. So if there's any questions about this, we'll address it at the end. And I think, Kendall, does the next slide lead right into the general reminder about coaching? So I'll go ahead and cover this. So as we've just mentioned, and this applies to all courses, coaching during competition is contrary to the goals of Special Olympics. We don't want to provide any single athlete an unfair advantage. So coaching is not permitted by anyone, not by any coach, spectator, family member. No one is allowed to coach. You may speak to your coach, to your athletes, as we said, when they're not competing. If you're not the escort, you're only going to have a minute or so with them while they're waiting to go back up for the next run. So you really can't delay that process, but you can speak to them for a minute or two while they're not on the course. Next slide, Kendall. So just a reminder, coaching is any specific assistance, like telling somebody how to get up or put your skis downhill, that kind of thing. And of course, any kind of shadowing, skiing or running alongside a course is also prohibited. General cheering is always encouraged. General encouragement, hooray, go, go John, go. That's always encouraged, and is not in any way prohibited by this policy. Any more on this? Okay, the consequences of coaching. It's gonna, if in the official's judgment, so the officials are on the course both at the beginning and at the end. If they witness any coaching, the athlete or the partner is DQ'd from that race and will receive a participation ribbon for that event. If they can identify the person who did the coaching, the first offense, they'll be asked to leave that race course for the entire event. So they will be asked to leave and they will not be allowed to come back to that race course. If there's a second offense, they will be ejected from the games. So obviously, this is nothing new. We've had this for several years now, but obviously it's very important. We want to give everybody equal chance on the race course and see that no one gets any kind of special treatment. So I hope everybody is comfortable with that. If there's any questions at the end, please submit them and we'll be happy to address them.
And I think just to piggyback on that, George, for you coaches, if you could please relay this to the family members and other athletes and partners. Most of the time, people think they're doing a good thing and not intentionally giving an unfair advantage, but we want to make sure that that doesn't occur. So if you could help relay this information to the family members, your other athletes and partners, that would be very helpful.
I think we've covered this. There you go.
Great. I can touch on the awards flow for Alpine. So like George mentioned, the escorts are going to bring the athlete from the competition area to the awards area. We are asking everyone to put their skis in the ski racks near the lodge because it causes a bunch of clutter if we try to bring everything into the same area. So we're trying to make it as smooth as a transition as possible. The escort will be responsible for checking the athlete and the division into awards. And then we are asking that we have a coach or a registered delegation volunteer to be in the awards area to, one, cheer for your athlete, make them feel like they did an awesome job, but also to take on responsibility for the athlete following the awards presentation. It is not the role of the escort to make sure that your athlete gets back to wherever your team's base camp is. So make sure you have someone there because we all don't want to lose our athletes and we know they like to wander sometimes. One side note is coaches and delegation volunteers are not permitted in the awards staging tent unless you are asked by Anna McCauley or one of her awards volunteers. So please remain in the award area just so you can cheer on for all the other athletes too. And please do not crowd around the entrance to the awards tent. It's the same as bringing the skis in. If we have a ton of clutter, it will just really back things up, and we want to make sure that our awards process is flowing as quickly as possible. Matt, do you want to touch on the head coaches meeting?
Yep. Yeah, as in years past, we're going the head coaches meeting will take place approximately 15 minutes after competition. Again, we'll try and notify everyone as we get closer when we think competition will wrap up, so that way everybody's not hanging around waiting in the tent for too long. We'll cover everything, the events of the day, the schedule, any questions, comments. We'll go over any safety items we identified, and we'll just talk about what's on track for the next day. Kendall, can you talk to registration?
Oh. Yeah, I've got you for registration. Again, the head of delegation only will come to the control center to pick up the information each morning. It will open at 8 o'clock. And again, I can't stress it enough, make sure that the head of delegation does check in each day. During that check-in, we'll provide the packets, any updates from the previous days. The initial day will have your lift, your rental, and lunch tickets. And also, you want to report any scratches. The deadline to report any scratches prior to the charge for each individual that will go to the county program is tomorrow at 5 p.m. So if you know of any scratches at this time, please make sure that your regional sports director or Mike Sarnowski gets that information tomorrow by 5. If you do get scratches after tomorrow at 5, that's fine. Please go ahead and submit those, and we will just have to charge accordingly. Again, the check-in process, again, that's strictly for the heads of delegation. The one thing I do want to stress to you guys as coaches is that the initial packet for your program will have the bibs, competition bibs for the coaches and the athletes and partners. Those will be the bibs that those individuals use throughout the event. So there's not going to be a new bib each day. The one bib is to last the entire event. So as coaches, I encourage you to get a process together to collect those bibs at the end of each day, label them accordingly, and be ready to redistribute those each morning. And again, I'll just stress the parking. Just please obey whatever directional signs and otherwise noted parking areas are in place. The overnight ski storage, like I said, that'll be outside of right outside of the rental area. We will have containers for each person. As coaches, similar to the competition bibs, want to make sure that when you put the skis in, that you have them labeled somehow that you know whose skis are whose, so that when you get there in the morning to redistribute those out to the athletes and partners, you can do that in a quick manner. Again, the overnight storage is just for skis and poles. Helmets, boots, and other items need to be carried with you from the facility and then brought back accordingly.
Steve, this is Mike. We'll have some duct tape and Sharpies available there too.
So I would like to touch on the helmet update, which I'm sure I have bugged all of you about plenty this season. So thank you for dealing with me through this process. We have located a vendor for these helmets, and I'm really excited to announce that they are the POC. They're the Skull Orbit helmets, which are pretty top of the line. Those of you who were at the On Snow training 2 weekends ago now, you got to see one of the sizes. So we will actually have a table near the family section on the second floor of the lodge, where we will have a complete size run of these helmets on Monday and Tuesday only. So we're asking for a coach to come and bring a few of your athletes to find sizes. Not every member of your team needs to try on a helmet and get a size. This is just kind of for a general idea. So if you know someone who has a similar head size, they don't necessarily both need to try on the helmet. And while you are taking down your sizes, please allow for change and growth. I know not every athlete comes back every year, and your program might grow or it might lose a few athletes, so please just plan accordingly. I'm sure there are going to be a ton of questions about this, so if you want to wait till the end, you can ask me, or feel free to give me a call or send me an email. My contact information is on the last slide of this presentation. So please just let me know. But I'm really excited that we're moving forward for it.
Kendall, this is Mike. First, thank you for all the work you've done with the helmets. Just so the coaches know, your area is not required to buy the helmets through the setup that we're doing now. You're not placing an order at Winter Games. That'll be over the summer. They are required, if your athletes are going to ski, to have this type of helmet. But you don't have to go through the group that we're doing. But we think we've got a pretty good deal with this rule change, and it does go into effect in full force at next year's Winter Games. So your area directors and leaders have been aware of this for a couple years, and we're thrilled that Kendall's been able to work out a connection to save some money for everybody.
Thanks, Mike. All right, Matt, if I can pass it back to you with the rules.
Yep. So I'm not going to go through all the rules. We've spent quite a bit of time on preseason webinars and coaches training and things like that. And there's been a lot of great questions this year in regards to some of the rules. There are no rules changes. I just want to touch on as far as time trials. Again, each athlete will do, they have the option to do 2 runs. They can do the first run, and if that is good, they can go on about their day. If they choose, they can do a second run if they want to improve their time, or if they DQ on the first one, they can do a second one. So Kendall, can we go to the next slide, please? One other rule I want to focus on, again, this is, it was new last year. I want to focus on it this year, is the change of the 2-minute rule to a 1-minute rule. On the intermediate and advanced courses, this is now an athlete will have 1 minute as they fall to recover their equipment, get themselves back on the course, climb up, go through the gate if they miss one, and continue the race. Again, they will have 1 minute from the time that they fall to get themselves righted. And then if they continue down the course, if they fall again, they will have another minute. And if they continue to fall throughout the course, that will be a course official's call. Let's say they fall 3 or more times. A course official may choose to have them removed from the course, as we want to keep things going. And again, from a safety perspective, with our continuous timing, we are running multiple athletes on the course at the same time. So we want to make sure that there are no safety concerns for that athlete or other athletes. Let's go on to the next slide, please. Again, Super G, just want to touch on that. The first one is a practice run. So if an athlete does really well in that first run, just remind them that the first one is a practice one. We will not be timing it. We will just be sending athletes through the Super G course as soon as they're ready. The second run is the time run, and that is the competition start. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Adaptive equipment. All the rules are the same. Competitor, as they go through the course, move through. Of course, as they go through, again, judgment call if they will have 1 minute to get themselves together. If they continue to fall, it will be up to the course official to make a determination on adaptive athletes as they're going through the course. Next slide, please. This slide goes through different procedures for hearing impaired athletes and visually impaired athletes. Again, if your athlete has special requirements, if they're visually impaired and require a forerunner, we need to know about that ahead of time so we can note it in the competition, in the time trial and competition sheets. So that way we know ahead of time. Next slide, please. Here's just some additional tips in regards to health preparation, personal items. Again, be mindful of the weather, athletes dressing in layers. Make sure you have anything that they're going to require while they are out on the snow. Next slide, please. Clothing, diet, and hydration. It's always important. People feel that when you're out there in the cold weather that you don't need to hydrate. You actually can become more hydrated in cold weather as your body is working harder to keep itself warm. And again, coaches should know each of your athletes' needs for any special equipment or any other protective gear. Next slide, please. Accident procedures. Steve, do you want to cover this or do you want me to go through it?
If you can go through this one, and I'll get to the other general stuff later.
Sounds good. Again, as if you're in the vicinity of an athlete that or athlete, volunteer, family member, anyone that has an accident, this does not just go for athletes. This goes to anyone, including coaches as well. Do not remove any equipment unless they're in immediate danger. Make a call to the medical team or the ski patrol, whoever you can get a hold of. Each official Alpine GMT members many of us will have radios. Contact who you can. We'll get a hold of ski patrol. We'll get there as quickly as possible. If it's gather any other information in regards to if depending on what type of injury it is, to get information of anyone who may have witnessed the accident. Wait for the medical team and ski patrol. Once they are there, they will get them safely to the appropriate area, whether it's a Special Olympics area or the infirmary at Whitetail. Then make sure you report this accident to the control center. We do have a process, so please go to the control center as quickly as possible once the situation is under control, and please give it all the information as possible. Please do not talk to anyone else in regards to this just don't talk to anyone about this. Go straight to the control center, speak to Special Olympics staff or medical staff only. Let's go to the next one, please. Touched on this before. Complete the accident report. We can go to the next slide. Thanks, Kendall. Okay, Steve.
Matt, just to add one comment, you mentioned in terms of contacting the ski patrol, you mentioned that a lot of Special Olympics folks will have radios and they can do that. But if you're not near a race course or if you can't find a Special Olympics person, go to the nearest lift shack. Whether it's at the bottom or at the top, go to the lift shack and they can call ski patrol for you.
Good point. Thank you, George.
Okay, and I'll take the next couple slides here, Matt. So once again, this year we're pleased to have family hospitality for family members of the athletes and partners. So for Alpine, that'll be designated on the main new portion of the lodge on the second floor on Monday in the Solstice dining area. Same place where you can have some great viewing pleasure towards the mountains. It's a really nice location for families to take a break, talk amongst themselves, and get some good information. Again, this is only for families. This isn't for athletes and partners and you guys as coaches, unless you're a mother or a father, because there are refreshments there. That's intended for family members attending the event only. We're also having again, pleased to announce we have a family reception on the evening of Monday, and that'll be at the Homewood Suites at 7:30, and that'll be in the main ballroom. Again, from the housing locations, there's a cluster of the housing locations, and Homewood Suites is right in that general vicinity as well, right across the parking lot. So at the family reception, there'll be some silent auction items, a dessert bar, and potentially a guest speaker. But again, that reception, similar to the family hospitality, that's intended for the sole purpose of family members. Athletes, partners, etc., should be at the dance enjoying themselves with their peers on Monday evening. During the family on Sunday evening, there's another update, if you will, from our president and CEO, Jim Schmutz. We'll be talking with family members in regards to an update on the strategic plan for Special Olympics Maryland. moving forward in the next couple years. So that will be at the Ramada Plaza on Sunday evening in the Cumberland South room, beginning approximately 8:45. So again, just wanted to let people be aware of that. Again, family members and spectators, Whitetail has been very generous to extend the deals that they give to us for the athletes, coaches, partners. So here's the information if you have family members who would like to partake in the skiing opportunities at Whitetail. The one thing I will stress here is they need to go to the group sales office. Do not go directly to the ticket windows. They need to go to the group sales area, which is right beside the ticket office, where you get your lift tickets and rental equipment. But they need to go into that office building and let them know that they are with Special Olympics. For family meals, again, families are on their own for their meals. They can purchase them from Whitetail. In the event guide, we also have a long list of local establishments and restaurants for dining purposes. In the Ramada Inn during a delegations dinner on Monday evening, just a reminder that that is not for families. We're not going to be selling tickets. We've got a very tight space and a quick turnaround to get the dinner to all the delegation members on Monday evening, and then turn around and get ready for the dance as it is in the same location. So again, if you have family members who want to get out and walk on the snow, get toward the course, cheer on the athletes, no coaching. A walking pass is required to get out on the snow at Whitetail. There is no fee for that, but it's similar to a lift ticket that they can put on their jacket. They just need to sign a waiver that will be available at the family hospitality area there in the upper lodge in the solstice room. Again, attire and hydration. I know at our last training on February 10th, we did have some rain come down and there was a scurry for people looking for ponchos. So we stress to you guys as coaches, please make sure that you guys and the athletes and partners and everyone's prepared for the different conditions that could occur, whether it be a warm day, a cold day, a rainy day, a snowy day, etc. So we will try to have a handful of ponchos available, but again, we look to you guys as coaches to make sure you're prepared for all the different weather conditions. As always, with any competition, we want to make sure that everyone stays hydrated. Sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves as coaches and management team members. So obviously you want to take care of the athletes and partners, but don't forget about yourself. Layers, we stress layers, as it's easier to remove, and just have additional layers as you never know what the weather will bring us. So just be prepared in all situations. Special events, as we indicated on the schedule, the opening ceremony, a change this year, will be on Sunday evening, right after the time trials and after dinner. It'll be on the back patio. If you have anyone that you can check with your head of delegation, if there's anybody that you want to nominate to carry in the banners, there's 2 individuals per program who will be the representation for your county program to walk in the banners. Make sure that you talk with your head of delegation to make sure those names have been submitted. Again, like I said, the theme of the dance is the Monster Mash. So bring your best costume and get ready for a fun evening. We talked about the family reception. So again, athletes and partners, etc., should not be there. They should be at the dance. Goes kind of without saying, but the award ceremony at the end of the competitive events on the finals will take place at the Alpine area, which is at the same place where the opening ceremony stage will be. That's where the Alpine Awards will be presented. And we're still looking at the possibility of potentially having a option for a movie for those athletes who don't want to partake in the dance.
For the awards results, Delegations need to have someone dedicated to the awards area for meeting the athletes, like we discussed earlier. Please have all coaches, families, and other delegation members stay out of the staging tent just to keep it clutter-free. And we will post the results for Alpine by the windows of the new pizza restaurant on the backside of the lodge near where the awards preparation tent is. Diane, thank you for actually asking this question. So you can get protest forms at the control center, and they also need to be filled out and returned to the control center. So if that situation arises, please handle it in a timely manner, and we will make sure everything will go well. Also, I'm just going to answer Diane's question. Sorry,
Kendall,
go ahead,
as a reminder, protests can only be filed by the head coach, not by individual coaches, not by the athlete, unified partner, or family member. It has to be the head coach from your delegation.
Thank you, Mike. And last question from Diane was about how will we notify the coaches of the time for the coaches meeting. So we are going to do it after the last race ends, which will be about at 4:30 at the staging tent, like Matt had touched on earlier. If there are any changes to that, we will make sure to notify all heads of delegations and hope that they can get the information to the coaches.
And again, the food services we talked about, the dinner on Sunday will be from 4:30 to 5:30. Again, it's going to be in the main cafeteria there where the lunches will be served as well at Whitetail. We do have a little options in addition to the typical choices that are given at lunches. We'll have a fruit cup option, a salad option, and a dessert option. And at that point, you could take all three of the salad, the fruit cup, and the dessert in addition to your entree. So that'll be available on Sunday evening, right before the opening ceremony and after time trials. Seating areas at the dining area is the typical process there at Whitetail. At the Ramada Plaza on Monday evening, there will be different rooms available. If you remember from last year, there's multiple rooms where they will be setting up for people to dine. It will be a buffet style, and we are encouraging the delegations from the Ramada. If you're staying at the Ramada Plaza, if you could eat between the hours of 5 and 6 p.m. and then return to the rooms. So that way the other delegations can eat between 6 and 7, and that way we can make a quick flip and be ready for the athlete dance and social right after those dinner hours. The dance, again, will be at the same place as the dining area in the main Cumberland area. We'll have our DJs, again, Charlie and Petey from last year. Have a great fun time for all the athletes. Again, I can't stress it. Families will not have the option to eat there with the delegations at the Ramada Plaza, with the one exception is there is a fireside restaurant, which is actually inside the building at the Ramada, but there's an outdoor entrance to that. So you can go to that, family members that is, but they cannot come in and eat with the delegation. Lunches will be at the Whitetail Resort, and then again, breakfast will be at the hotels before you head up to the resort. We will have, again, in your packets, the lunch tickets for each of the delegation members for Monday for the event, as well as dinner tickets for Monday or for Sunday and Monday. Additional information, Matt kind of touched on it again with emergency procedures, but at Whitetail, the ski patrol will be used for the medical issues if we encounter any. Hopefully we will not. We talked about the walk-in clinic. It's over near where the ski rental area is on the lower level of that building. And then we will provide overnight medical contacts at the hotels. We will disseminate that information and those contact personnel on Sunday upon check-in. And then these are just some resources for you guys to have. It's some of the ways that we as an organization do communicate. So this is just some information. You can sign up for these, the SOMD Sports, and some other information there. But again, one of the questions Diane had about protests, et cetera, that's one exception we will make for the control center, where it's only supposed to be the heads of delegation, where we will allow the head coach only to come in to drop off the protest form, and then we will notify the appropriate sport committee to make a ruling on that and then communicate back to you. One of the other things we want to stress is the evaluation survey, which is also in the event guide. What we ask of each of you as coaches is to disseminate this out to family members, to your athletes, to your partners, any spectators. We really do take it seriously, and as a management team, we start each meeting planning for the next year with a review of the evaluations that we received. So with that being said, there's several questions with that, but also a place for you to add any additional comments. What I will stress is let us know if there's things that you would like to see us improve upon or change. Give us suggestions with that, but also don't forget to let us know of the things that you did like. I say that because inevitably you only get things that people didn't like or want changed. And if we change them, and then the next year everybody says, well, why'd you change that? That was great last year. Well, we only heard the negative feedback. So kind of let us know one way or the other what you liked and what you think we can improve upon. And again, the more information, the more feedback we have from you guys, the better we can do as a management team. The two other things we always like to mention is please make sure you clean up after yourselves. Look around before you leave the facility, make sure there's no trash left behind or personal items. And also make sure you thank the volunteers. As you guys well know, Special Olympics doesn't happen without the volunteer support. And a lot of times they really only want to be recognized with a thank you. Really goes a long way to show your appreciation for their time and efforts in making sure we have a great event, and that will help keep the rapport with the volunteers at a high level, so they'll continue to return to us and let us continue to offer what we can for the athletes. In that same vein, the Whitetail staff is a tremendous resort staff. They've done everything they can to make it happen for us, especially last year with the miracle workers we had last year. So make sure that you thank the Whitetail staff as well. I can't tell you how much that means to them. This is their favorite event of the year, and we want to make sure to continue that partnership with Whitetail. So I'll leave it with that.
If you have any questions that pop up or scratches and you're not sure who your regional sports director is, this kind of just shows you, but feel free to send everything to me too. I don't mind getting a bunch of emails, so it'll help me stay organized. At this time, does anyone have any questions in regard to Winter Games or the Alpine competition? Oh, I see we have one from Barb. Barb, your line should be unmuted.
Okay, hi. Earlier, I believe I heard you say that bibs would only be given out on Monday. How will they handle identification of skiers during time trials?
Barb, this is Steve. If I said Monday, I meant Sunday. So the first day of registration on Sunday, leading up to time trials, are when you will get your packet with the bibs throughout the event.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for the question.
Do we have any other questions?
Kendall, Bob Friedman has had his hand up for most of the session.
Bob, do you just have to enter your PIN in? Sorry, I've been trying to get your line. Or if you can type your question into either the chat bubble or the questions, and I can answer it that way, whatever is easiest for you. In the meantime, anybody else have any questions? I will be sending out, we recorded this webinar, so I will make sure to send it out tomorrow along with the slides from this presentation. That way you can review it, and if someone was unable to be on, they can also go through it all. I see, Richard, we have a question. I will unmute your line now. You should. Ooh. I think you are self-muted, so if you unmute your line, Richard. Oh, looks like you're unmuted. Hey, Richard, can you try talking so we can see if your line is open? It's saying that it is. Or you can also type your question to me, whatever works best.
You there?
Hey, Rob, your line is also unmuted. Yes.
Good. Yeah, I got a question for you. In the times for the time trials, you guys had stated that you would be doing it by geography, but you got lower shore there, well ahead of people that are much closer. And you've got, I mean, we're as far away as Delaware, but we're like 2 hours before them.
The way that we created this schedule was trying to get everyone in as early as possible unless they had their intermediate and advanced time trials later in the afternoon. They all carpool. If it is unfeasible for you guys to get there by 10:30, I totally understand. I know you're quite far away. We can put you down into a later time slot if that would work.
That would be helpful. Barring us getting a hotel room, we've got a solid 4-hour drive. That's with good traffic. So, yeah.
Okay, definitely. I will follow up with you either tonight or tomorrow and let you know what your updated time is.
Okay, thank you.
Kendall, this is George. This came up on the head of delegation webinar the other night. We're talking about one athlete here, are we not?
Yes, just one.
Okay. We'll be able to make a change.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, that is for novice. So the novice course is going to be open the entire day. There won't be any ramifications for you guys not getting there by 10:30. So we totally understand, and get up there in the afternoon, won't be any issues.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, well, we ended perfectly at 8:01, just a minute over. That's always good. So if any other questions pop up, like I said, feel free to reach out to me, and I will send these all out. But thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your busy Monday night to listen to our webinar, and we will see you on Sunday. Cross your fingers for snow and cold weather. Have a nice night.
Bye, Kendall. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.